And this is Ken Kreitzer for CBSI Services, Talking Business, our interview series talking with leaders in the field of digital marketing, banking, insurance, customer service, and all to highlight the great work of our team at CBSI. We provide benefit programs and customer service to about 1,200 banks around the country, and we always want to acknowledge the great work done by our team at CBSI. We're based in Harrison, New York. Now, today we are very pleased to talk with Bill Hoffman, who is the founder and CEO of Tradecraft based in Minnesota. And Bill has got an extraordinary background, worked in places as varied as the Navy, the CIA, US Bank, Best Buy, McKinsey, and brings a lot of knowledge and expertise to his clients. Bill, good to talk with you. How you doing?
Good, Ken. Great to talk with you again, and look forward to spending a little time with you.
Very good. Appreciate it. Now, why don't you start by telling us a little bit about some of the things that your firm does, Tradecraft and data analytics. It looks like you've assembled quite a team of data scientists.
Yeah, we're really focused on helping companies truly extract value from their big data investments. So companies have spent in the neighborhood of $40 billion with a B dollars over the last 5 years globally on big data, very hot topic. But 90% of them say that their efforts have not been successful. They're not getting and extracting the value. So we help companies really mine the gold mine of data that they have by being very practical and focused on short-term benefits using really what we like to call small data, which is a lot more actionable than big data, at least to start the momentum to help companies really unleash the power of their data.
Very good. Now, tell us a little bit about, I mentioned some of the places that you've worked in business, McKinsey, Best Buy, US Bank. What are some of the kind of data analytics that you've learned and found valuable over the steps in your career?
So we've done analytics across a wide variety of spectrums, from customer analytics, knowing the customer better, customer segments, how do you really tailor value propositions to different types of customer groups, to marketing analytics, what's the best email to send to a particular person at a particular time of the day, very tactical, to operational analytics, like what's the right way to array a branch network, for example, or how do banks optimize their physical and digital assets, as an example. So a lot of very a wide degree of use cases, but really with a common thread that it has to drive an outcome. A lot of folks in the data and analytics space are really enamored with things like artificial intelligence, machine learning, but they're not focused on what the business really needs. So we really like to start with understanding the true client needs and how data, even if it's a simple Excel spreadsheet or an arithmetic formula, like if you want to get complicated, great, but why not use the simple stuff to create value first? So we're really very practical, and we see a lot of companies who are yearning for actionable insights from their big data investments and value quickly, especially in a COVID and what will be a post-COVID world at some point down the road, hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah, one of the things, and you alluded to, one of your tenets has been, and we've talked about it before, is that small, fast data is better than big, clunky data. And boy,
Right.
that sounds true. Tell us a little bit about how you came to that premise and where you see it best applied.
That's a great question. So to me, the light bulb turned on that one over a period of multiple years, right? It was one of those situations where I was seeing companies investing the typical kind of waterfall approach of a couple $1 million in a big data investment for a big company, a few $100,000 for a smaller company, and usually waiting for benefits to accrue in 18 or 24 months out. But with the pace of business changing, actually due to data, the importance of being able to outmaneuver your competitor, understand the customer better, leverage the insights your employees have, all of those assets you need to start taking advantage of today. You can't wait 18 months or even 6 to take advantage of it. So I saw one great example when we had US Bank had rolled out something called Einstein Analytics from Salesforce. We were the first company to actually partner with Salesforce on building out Einstein, which is now widely used. And we had started with a premise that we had to basically get every single data point on our customers that we had a perspective on in the mix. And it was taking forever, right? We were kind of going back and forth, weeks would drag on. And finally we decided, hey, let's look at 40. Let's just pick 40. And those 40 data attributes created an incredible amount of value for US Bank. It became a great case for Salesforce. I actually got to keynote Dreamforce at Salesforce a few years back. And it was because we focused. We were really focused on what can we leverage quickly what small data can provide a lot of insight, and the proverbial don't boil the ocean. Focus on what matters most and be laser focused on the minimum viable amount of data you need to drive the business.
And when you talk about data that you need to use for business today, certainly we're looking at the immense amount of data that comes off the internet every day, billions of pieces that come from all the different social media platforms and the internet itself, as well as traditional information, customer activity, usage, purchases. What are some of the key data points that you're using today to help guide your clients?
Yeah, Ken, it's really all those. And I would say what we're seeing, interestingly, with the wide variety of data available. So more data created in the last 5 years than in all of human history up to that point. So just think about that, right? There's so much data out there. There's almost too much that people have a hard time actually digesting it and using it. But we're seeing a big focus on what we like to call experiential data. So not just the transactional components of how someone shopped at a retail store, or what transactions that happened on their ATM or in the branch or online, but the experience of it. So how can you actually kind of track things like soak time on a website, or time on a contact center with someone who's actually helping you solve a problem? So the idea that time and elements around time are becoming a lot more important for companies. And I think in the past, everyone was trying to minimize the interaction with the customer. The goal seemed to be, hey, let's lean out our process in a way that we talk to a customer for as little possible of time as possible. And now that has changed a lot. Like, people are starting to see the value of human interaction. It's almost like it's coming full circle, where the data is validating the importance of a true and genuine human conversation. And companies that can use data and analytics to personalize how they discuss, interact, engage with their customers, that is the differentiator. And if you think about all the companies that you spend money on, for the listeners out there, what would you view as a company that really treats you in a personal way? You're probably tending to spend most of your dollars with those types of companies versus those that don't treat you in a personal way.
Boy, we see that all the time. In fact, we're using GoToMeetings. I had a great experience when I first checked them, and I got someone on the phone, I think in Florida, and he spent the time with me to make sure I understood how to use the service. So I'm a very committed customer because I had that direct interaction and assistance by a human representative of their firm. Now, tell us a little about, you're always in your comments talking about keeping keeping people in the picture when you're doing research, and also in making sure that not just the C-suite office understands the research, but people in the field who might benefit from using it. Tell us a little bit about keeping the human perspective in doing data analytics.
That's a great question. To me, the human factors are the key differentiator for companies that are doing well at analytics and those that maybe are laggards or just middling in their performance. So when you think about it, you have to be able to share the insights and findings and learnings from the data you have, of course, with the C-suite of your company. So CEO and his or her direct reports, the business unit leads, they all need to know what's happening with their customer, with the market, all incredibly important things. But we really advocate, while you're designing those principles, to make sure that your frontline employee is also given the same level of understanding and expertise on what's happening with their customer, with the market. So for example, when you think about it, who knows more about the customer than those folks chatting with them or interacting with them every day? You learn a lot from the website, totally important, get that, need to pay attention to it, other channels. But a lot of companies are not listening back from their employees, and there's so much value in the perspective that frontline employees have, whether it's on the phone, in a branch, and being able to just say, hey, yeah, we're hearing from our customers, they'd really be interested in this type of new financial product, or we're hearing that rates are changing at these competitor banks, as an example, for these reasons, and just understanding what's happening in the market. And with COVID-19 in particular, having a listening network. In the military, we would call it every soldier a sensor. Everyone's listening, understanding what's going on around you for situational awareness. And with the pace of change with COVID in particular, companies are going to have to start listening more to their employees, who are an incredibly valuable source of insight.
And you certainly have worked for banks, and that's certainly an area that we're looking at as far as Is this a time for customer acquisitions in credit cards or in branch level accounts? Is there a way to encourage activation of those accounts as into more categories as spending has maintained itself in some areas such as groceries or electronic online purchases, but other areas such as travel has really diminished? Is there a key thought for working perhaps in the credit card industry as far as what analytics issuers should be considering right now?
Yeah, that's a great question as well. To me, the key is the changing nature of financial services, moving from value associated with quick transactions and being able to execute what now are table stakes for banks, credit unions, credit card issuers, to a theme that I like to call wealth care, which is something bigger than just the transactional nature of financial services, but more of the value added. So financial planning, understanding how life insurance fits into a broader suite of financial products. So being able to, at scale, personalize the capability to truly understand that customer and then bring an array of financial services products to bear for them. And I know a lot of folks in the wealth management space are already doing that for their best clients, and that's great. But how do you, as a perhaps mid-sized bank or credit union, how do you bring some of that personal touch to a wider set of customers? That will be the challenge. And in particular with interest rates, as the Fed seems to indicate, likely not changing for potentially into 2021, 2022, banks are going to have to spend a lot of time figuring out how to make non-interest income a bigger part of their balance sheet and portfolio. And I think this concept of wealth care, really understanding what's going on with the customer and bringing a lot of principles I think that retail had to go through and learn from maybe a decade ago into banking, so that it's more personalized and we're creating better experiences for our customers, current and new.
Certainly, we've been doing some initiatives with some of the associations that work with small commercial banks around the country, community banks, and they made a big push to help small businesses in late spring with the Paycheck Protection Program and other means to assist and support local businesses. What are some of the areas that smaller businesses can use analytics to really survive and to recover from COVID-19 situation?
As a small business owner, I could speak to this with an N of one, but also serving those folks who are serving smaller businesses. And a lot of our clients are in that 500 million to $1 billion range, or not everyone's a giant in the Tradecraft suite of clients. So I think a few things. One is a framework we like to talk about of deepening personalization at scale, even for smaller players. So for example, as a small business owner, knowing and keeping track of just who we've recently had conversations with. So who is in the network? What are prospects that we could reach out to? And so simple CRM platforms or platforms like Constant Contact or others that provide some line of sight to what's actually happening. And so you can actually keep track through a little bit of automation of what's happening in the relationships you and your employees are having with others. And any small business can leverage that. So whether it's a simple CRM tool, a contact management tool, et cetera, those are some great places to start. But we like to talk about a framework. So it all starts with the most important thing is recognizing the customer. The last thing you want to do, especially for a small business, is feel like you've made a customer feel forgotten or not recognized across all channels. So you've got to know the customer. You've got to recognize them, then you've got to start to know them. So getting to know Ken, oh yeah, we've talked 3 times in the last quarter. The last time we had a conversation was about these 3 or 4 topics. So it's recognizing, it's knowing. The next wave that we see happening is understanding. So knowing, for example, if you're a bank, hey, you have Ken has an older son who's getting ready to go to college and is interested in financial, maybe student loan products or financial planning. Or even just helping his son as he goes out on his journey to college. And even just location being different will be important to know. So you got to recognize, you got to know, you have to understand. And then most importantly, and the key differentiator for the next wave will be anticipating. So not just knowing, recognizing, and understanding, but you start to anticipate things like, hey, one of your clients is just knowing or recommending, hey, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Like just using the data for customers like that particular customer to suggest new product or services or existing products or services you have, and just being able to anticipate will be, I think, an important trait for companies that use data to win in the future.
Yeah, we were just talking to a business-to-business marketing expert and writer, Michael Feldstein, last week, and he talked about the importance of collecting email addresses for customers, and then also to be able to have some indicator of the amount of business that they have provided you in the past, so that you make sure, as you said, you don't forget your good customers.
Right.
And I thought that spoke just to what your remarks today. Now, you've got a terrific white paper on your website, which is tradecraft.com, and it talks about key questions for successfully navigating the new normal. You spoke to a couple of them about do we really know our customer, but you also have an interesting point in there about the shift to digital in our customers' behavior. And do you understand and what is the role of each of our channels? Why don't you just explain a little bit about what you mean about the shift to digital?
Perfect. Yeah, and actually you can find that on tradecraftinsights.com, and there are a couple of articles recently about the impact of COVID. And to your question, one of the things we need to help people understand is how COVID-19 has, I don't think it's necessarily changed everything. It's changed some things, and it changed them enough to matter, but it's also accelerated a lot of natural trends that were underway. And the shift to digital is clearly one of those trends. So for example, we have a grocery client in the Midwest and a specialty retailer based in Texas. Both of them have achieved their 5-year shift to digital goals in the last 3 months. So, you know, they're up like 800% and 1,500% respectively year on year for their digital channels. So, and being able to, and it probably could have been, you know, 1,000% and 2,000% if they've done a great job keeping up, but there was probably still latent demand that they didn't meet. So knowing what that means for the customer wants you as an enterprise to be known across all channels, whether they log in online, whether they interact with you via social media, or whether they stop into your branch or go into your store. You have to be able to recognize, know, understand, and anticipate them across all the channels. So we see that as an important differentiator. And unfortunately for a lot of us, the bar is incredibly high. The bar on digital in particular is whatever the best customer experience you've had on digital is. If that's Amazon, if that's Zappos, if it's another company like that, that's the bar. And if you haven't met that, then you're not doing well enough because of the just insatiable demand that the customer has today for everything online and delivered like right now, right? So that's going to be a key differentiator. So it's about recognizing, knowing, understanding, and anticipating online. It's about building an authentic relationship through digital channels, which is not impossible. It's harder, but it's possible, and a lot of great brands are doing that. And then it's also making sure that you're leveraging just the amount of data and analytics possible with digital. I mean, there's digital exhaust and a digital footprint on every step your clients are taking interacting with you on your website. And how many, thinking about just reflecting on your own business, how many people are looking back and doing something in the military we would call an after action report to take a look at how people are interacting with the digital properties. What can you learn from them? Are there empty baskets on items for a retailer? Are there websites visited for a financial services product that you were surprised had such volume that you may want to double down on? There's so many clues in the digital data that companies are just really scratching the surface today.
And you, in your white paper, it's available on your website, talk a little bit about data foundation and about data governance in an enterprise-wide data management plan. And it really touches on what we just talked about at the Direct Marketing Club of New York on data privacy, and
Excellent.
touching on what is a strategy for customer data privacy, and are you in compliance with the two big regulatory laws, the GDPR from Europe and the California Consumer Protection Act, which is, we learned, is up for a vote to have it in, actually the standards increase closer to the European law on the ballot this November. So everybody's gonna be watching that very quickly. But tell us a little bit about your thoughts on data foundation.
Yeah, this is something that most companies don't want to spend a lot of time on. It's not at all, it's not sexy at all. It's, you know, not something that creates an incremental lift in revenue right away. But over time, without a strong data foundation, everything else you want to do with data crumbles. You have to, when you're building a house, you have to have good architecture and a strong foundation, right? And if you invest in beautiful fixtures in your bathroom or kitchen, right, it doesn't matter if your foundation's crumbling. So simple things like a basic data governance approach at your company with people who are clearly identified as the data champions, maybe even a data owner, and then within IT, technology, data science, whatever group, kind of a data steward who knows how to govern appropriately and make decisions on the data. As a practical example, working for a retailer who was working to align its product data. One of its core supplier partners was Coke. So the question is, do we call them Coke? Do we call them Coca-Cola? Do we call them Coca-Cola with a dash? Is it Coca-Cola Enterprises? Is it Coca-Cola Distributors? Is it Coca-Cola Bottlers, right? They had 40 different options. And in reality, they needed to solve for all of those. But unless someone's making a call on that, then you have data that doesn't connect. And there's nothing worse than trying to provide a report of importance to the CEO or to your key customers where the data is not right. And that's a big problem. Having learned that quickly in my experience in the intelligence community, you better have your facts right before you present anything. But we're not spending a lot of time making sure that everyone has shared meaning and a single source of truth on data at a lot of companies today, and that can get people in a lot of trouble.
Well, Bill Hoffman, you've really had an interesting career going from DePaul University to Oxford, where I had a chance to take a class one time through the CIA, the Navy, McKinsey, Best Buy, U.S. Bank. And we want to thank you for your service in the U.S. Navy. I want to have a final thought about key services of your company based in Lakeville, Minnesota, Tradecraft.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Ken, for the time. It's just to me, with COVID-19 and what happens next, it hasn't changed everything. It's changed enough. And having situational awareness and helping companies understand what's happening and how they can survive through it, take advantage of changes in the market, and better know their customers and understand how they're changing, I think will be a key set of factors that companies need to execute on to win and to potentially even stay in business over the next several years, right? So we're passionate about helping people make good decisions. Our core product we call the Analytics Quick Start, which is basically coming in using existing data, existing analytical tools, existing staff, vendor partners, and work to create $5 million in 90 days. So we've been able to do that for large companies, mid-sized companies. There's so much power in the data, and we often talk about companies literally sitting on top of a gold mine. They may need some more miners and some mining tools, so we help bring those to them while also building their capability. Our goal is to bring that in-house and help them bring it in-house over time, and allow them to stand on their own 2 feet, but help them along the way with good training, education, and capability building.
Okay, I got to ask you about the $5 million in 90 days. How does that work?
Well, a practical example, so working for a specialty retailer, as mentioned, being able to look at, for example, their loyalty program and helping them understand who, not just today is the best customer, but what are some indicators that would suggest that if we provided a very targeted offer to a particular client segment set, that they most likely would buy that and also buy in the bundle. So using analytics to provide the offer. In other cases, we've helped companies, a large travel kind of advisory firm online, help simple things like what's the right subject line to put in your email out to Ken or Bill or some other client. Like what do they have an interest in? And it doesn't have to be a million options. It could be like 10. But if you have something that piques your interest, we're all there, right? We get the 50 emails in the morning and we hit delete, delete, delete. But if there's something that's kind of personally interesting to you, or you have a high likelihood that it would be for that customer, have that in the subject line. Things like the imagery within the email, or even just the time of day it's sent. We found that with a lot of work we did at Best Buy, that sending emails, in the morning when a lot of moms who are our target audience for a particular set of products for getting kids off to school and then or off to work, they didn't have time to look at the email, so potentially hit them when they're back from their job, and or if they're in the stay-at-home mom in the morning after the kids are off from school. Just as one of a million different examples how to tailor things as simple as the time of an email, and those things add up over time. And usually companies have the data, they just haven't asked the right questions.
Okay, Bill Hoffman, great to chat with you and hear about your company, Tradecraft, based in Lakeville, Minnesota. We had a chance to meet at Direct Marketing Association conference a couple of years ago. And we always want to point out you are a veteran of the United States Navy, and we thank you for your service. Good to chat with you today.
Sure. Thank you, Ken. I appreciate your time, and it was great. Thanks.
Our pledge. We'll do it again. And this is Ken Kreitzer for CBSI Services Talking Business, highlighting the great work of our team at CBSI based in Harrison, New York, taking care of our clients in the payments and banking field. So have a great day, everybody. This is Ken Kreitzer again from my home office in White Plains, New York. Have a great day.